Let's bring it all together and play a quick round. To start the game, each player gets 5 cards. So let's start with our opening hands of 5 cards. Then the second player will get 2 sparks. Sparks can be used to create energy, and you can only activate 1 spark at a time. Remember, cards need energy to be played. Sparks are not energy, they create them. Like power cubes create energy, but they are not energy, so you'll get to keep them. You don't keep sparks though, and you can only do 1 spark per turn. All right, I have my 5 cards. They have their 5 cards. Just set theirs over here. Remember that's there. First player's first turn. We're not going to do full drama for the first player's first turn. They are only going to get draw, regroup, and act, and then skip straight to the end step, okay? So, draw for turn. Next, regroup. During the regroup step, I will get 1 power cube. If I had any cards in play, I could ready them. Okay, so I don't have enough energy to play any of these cards. Actually, this one only costs 1, but it says 0/0. So if I played it, it would have 0 health when it's played, and a card with 0 health in play will be destroyed. So that won't work. So I can place 1 card per turn. I think I will pick a card to place here. Let's go with this guy. He can dodge and do critical damage when he attacks, if he does attack from behind. But I don't have much use for him, so I'm going to play this card horizontally in my back row. So if somebody swings, they have to become vulnerable to me at this card. And again, I can only do 1 of these per turn because it's face down. I don't have to pay for it until it's flipped over. Then I would move on because I've done my act step, which allowed me to place the card. I cannot move because I don't get a move step. It then becomes this other player's turn. Okay, so we're playing as this player. Here I have my 5 cards. I will draw for turn. I will get a power cube. Okay, so then I can look at these cards. Looks like I can play stuff. I have 1 that cost me 1, another 1 that cost me 1. Here's some that cost me 2. Let's go with this card here. So this card costs 2. I have 2 energy available to me through my sparks and cubes. But first, I need to create them. So I'll activate the cube by setting it off to the side here. So it doesn't really matter as long as you and your opponent agree of what's an active space and what's inactive to represent it's been activated. I like to use the little line here in the middle of the board. So anything on this side has been activated, it created energy. So again, activate the cube. I now have 1 energy kind of floating out there. I have sparks available. I cannot create 2 energy even though I have 2 sparks. 1 spark per turn, so I'll activate 1 spark. I have 1 left. Now I have 2 energy floating, and I can play my card. If I play it back here, I cannot move to reach this because it can only move 2 spaces. So I want to play it here, and then also make sure that my arrows align with where I want to go. So this card's going to get played during my act step, now that I'm in that. And then during my move step, I will move to attack. This card's face down. It will be forced to be revealed by battle. It gets flipped over. It costs me 2. At this point, I am forced to try to pay for this. If I can't pay for it, I don't pay partially, so I don't activate 1 and then just lose 1 energy. It just means that the card has been ousted. Now, this card's horizontal, so it will not attack the card. It's also been ousted, and ousting keeps it from attacking the card. So either one of those conditions being true would keep this card from attacking this one. Now this card has a 2 attack on the 2 health, so this card will be destroyed by battle. It goes away, and then that has spared me a direct hit from my opponent. If I didn't have any cards on my side over here, then this card could have swung directly into my closest zone to me and then dealt 2 life damage to me. I just gave up a card to save myself 2 life. In essence, this card became a +2 life to me, if you want to look at it in those terms. So now that that player's move step's over, they go into the act step in which they could play and place more cards. They have 1 spark. You can do 1 spark per turn. This player can use that 1 spark per turn because each player has a turn. I could use that spark on my opponent's turn. So I will happily put this card face down here because I can pay for it. Now, if it's an attack position, I will be able to attack them. So I probably should go defense to protect my own life. If I was vertical, the overflow of damage will not hit my life points, which we'll look at that in a little bit. So there we go. Face down. So that's drama, and then the last step is end step. So I will stop doing things and I will begin my turn over here. I'll draw my card for turn. I'll get a new power cube in my regroup step. I don't have any cards in horizontal position or exhausted, so I don't get to ready them and flip them into vertical position. But I do have 2 energy in which I can play a card to attack with. I will select the Rabid Skunk. But instead of attacking my opponent, I know that they can't reach me, so I will play here. I have to activate my 2 power cubes to create the 2 energy to be able to play this. I then move it into this card zone, flipping this over. They have to pay for it. Again, when a card's flipped, you don't get to choose whether or not to pay for it. Knowing that this card's going to be destroyed, you may say, hey, I don't want to pay for it. But this is called tangible energy. Anything that you could activate, you have to activate in order to play the card when it gets flipped over, no matter what. So this forces this spark to be used. We no longer need this because all the sparks are gone for that player. Now that this card has been paid for, they will battle. So bad decision on my opponent's part because I have a 2, they have a 1-1, I have a 2-2, so this card will be destroyed. And the difference in the 2 cards, so for the health difference, so if this card attacks this 2 to the 1, that's -1, that'll be -1 life to my opponent. So they'll go from 20 to 19 health because this card was destroyed and it was in attack, sort of this vertical ready position, okay? If the card was in this defensive type position, horizontal, the card gains shielding, which means that when the damage is done, though they don't attack because they're horizontal, this card will not attack when it's horizontal, even though it's -1 health to them, because they chose to be more defensive, they won't lose any life. But that was not the case in this scenario. So this card is destroyed. And all the details on the different scenarios of battle are in the rule book. So this card wins. It's over here. Now I get my act step again. I will choose to put one of these cards face down. I think I will go with let's go with this wall over here, Damascus Gate. So I will put this face down. I'll make sure it's out of reach of this card. This card cannot move backwards. So I'm going to block him in. He can only go kind of these directions, but he can't get to this card. All right. So then I'll end my turn. This player's turn begins. Get a new card. Let's take a look at what we have. Now, regroup. You're in regroup, you'll get anything you activated back to yourself plus a new one. So now this person has 2, and they have some options to play. This person will choose to play Woman of War. They notice that I don't have anything available to activate, so they're going to go to engage that card. But they see an opportunity. This card has a weakness number, meaning that they'll be able to destroy this card, do damage to my life. They won't get to do damage to my life with this card because it's defensive. So I've lured them in with this card so that they will attack me from behind. The damage will resolve. They'll have a -1 attack to this card and a +1 attack to this card, making this a 3-2 and making this a 1-2, meaning that this card will not destroy that one. This card will go away over here. And that'll be -19 for the other player. So, sorry, 3, 1. Yeah, so -1, 19. It's a tied game. Now, this card, they don't want this one to be so vulnerable. It's way back in the opponent's area, so they're going to move back here 2 spaces during their movement step that we're in right now. So from there, they may choose to play... oh, they had to activate these. I bet somebody caught that. To get that card out. And then we're going to put this one face down over here. Okay, that's that person's turn. Things are heating up. Let's get a new card for turn. Get our cubes back. Get a new cube. Now, during the regroup step, if you have a face down card, there's a little thing I didn't tell you about quite yet. and that is called awaiting. During regroup, you get to put one await counter on top of a card that is face down. An await counter reduces the amount that you need to pay to play this card. So this card is reduced by 1 on the total cost that it will have. And you'll get one of those per regroup step per card you have face down. Meaning that this card was at one point costing me 4. But now that it has an await counter on it, which I had planned for my opponent to get to me, I only have to pay 3. So when I flip this card over, let's say I flip it, again, I can flip it to the same position or any other position, and it does not use a movement when I do that. Let's say I flip it over. My await counter reduces that to 3. I activate 3, and I can have this card flipped over. And it's not ousted. Okay? So on play, this card says, equip 2 avatars to this where the sum is 12 or less and put them face down behind this. Then when this is destroyed, I get those back. Hey, looky there, 2 cards that I just wanted. I didn't even plan any of this. This is completely random draw, by the way. Outside of me just stacking stuff on top that was there before. So this is going quite well. And this card will be this way. We kind of get a little jigged up there. So there we go. Those cards are there. I got a special await counter to reduce my cost. That player is going to get the same benefit, by the way. And since I used everything, I don't have anything to play. So pass to their turn. They'll draw for turn. Got some action cards here. We could play those, but no need to do that. This player can put an await counter on their face down card. It's reduced by 1. In the order in which you do await counters, recovering these power cubes, and getting a new one, as we're doing right now, we're doing a regroup, you can do those in any order that you like. You just have to draw first for turn to signal that you are starting your turn. Then they could ready cards. Again, if this was horizontal, they could tweak them up for free without using a movement at that time. And so that's where that person is. Now they move into their act step. They're going to use that await counter to flip that card over. It costs 1, so they get it for free. It says if you pay an extra 2, you get a plus to this number, making it a 4. Wow, that's just playing out nicely. Literally not planned at all. And so this 4 can swing over here and hit this card because it has the arrows to do so. And that person didn't know that that was the case because it was face down. So boom, just like that, this card would be destroyed because it's 4 health. This would have 4 attack due to the bonus on the card. I'm not going to do the rest of the text on that card. Let's see. So the rest of the text on the card says if it enters battle, which it did, it's going to gain me 2 life. So that was pretty sweet effect. So I'm at 21, and then these 2 cards go back to this player's hand. Okay, so I guess I could continue on with these turns. Maybe I'll just do one more turn here. So let's draw for turn. This player looks like they're doing quite well. Get these back. Get this card back. Now is where positioning matters. If we'll take a look at this person's hand, they don't have any more action cards, and this one costs a lot, right? So I kind of have a sense of they're low on cards. They've played a lot of low-cost cards. They might not have anything. I have 4 energy out here, and I just got 2 of my cards back. These 2 2s. And I could put 1 face down for the turn if I wanted. Plus, I know where all their cards can move. So now I'm going to examine the board and find the best possible position to go. If I put a card here, none of their cards can get to it. So I will play my Rabid Skunk here in this position. And pay 2. Now this says pay X. I don't want to get too much into details of cards, but I can pay an additional X energy to gain X power counters on this if I lose X life. So I'll pay an additional 2 instead of playing a second card to make this gain 2 power counters. Now I'll just reuse this dice. Power counters give a +1, +1, +0 to a card. So this is now a 4/4. This card can then move me into my move step, in which case I will go to attack that card. This card is a 2/2. I have a 4/4, so they will lose 2 life. Damage on a card only lasts for as long as the battle is. So if this card was attacked by one card and did 2 damage and another card 2 damage, that card will not sustain damage to the end of the turn. It's just for the battle. Damage just lasts for the length of the battle. Okay, so this card, still unreachable by my opponent. Now I have the strongest card on the field. I will end my turn because I'm not going to play anything. Actually, I will place a card first because I really would like that bonus to reduce the cost to play the card. So let's go with this card here. I'll put this one face down in an unreachable position from my opponent. They will draw for turn. Hey, look, they got a create 2 energy. So they play this at any point in the game. They get 2 energy, so they'll do that now. Well, actually, yeah, they could do it before regroup even happens. So that's a good situation to play out. So I'm still during my draw step, technically, when that happens. So I have 2 energy. Then and that lasts until the end of the turn. That's a good thing to point out. Energy, when it's created, only lasts to the end of the turn. So know that. So I'm going to get these back +1. So now I have 6 total energy to play with. And I was hoping I would have enough to play this, but we're not there yet. So that would have been an early play to do, but hey, we did it anyways. All right, so my opponent is looking pretty strong. This card can't get to me, so I'm not too threatened by it. And it cannot move sideways, so I'll move this card here so I can get in a better position to attack this card my next turn. This card would like to move backwards, but it can't because this card is in the way, okay? Because they're on the same plane. They're both ground cards. So that's the state of my board at this point, and I can't do anything else. This person's turn. They will draw. They'll get their cubes back. They will get this back. Then I'll need another dice to get our await counter on here. So we'll do that. So that costs 1 less. And I am going to spend 5 for this player to play something big and strong. I'm going to swing with this card during my move step to hit their card. It goes away. Their card only has 2 health. Mine has 5 attack. And they definitely don't have enough to kill the card because it has a 5 health. So this card will hit them and they'll take 3 damage for the turn. This card is going to move back to provide a little bit more coverage into my opponent's zones. Now that my move step is done, it moves to their turn. They draw for turn. They could do some stuff, but let's just play like they're being defensive, okay? And they have action cards that could influence this to save them next turn. For example, if we played this during the opponent's turn, they couldn't move any of these cards. We would ground them essentially. So we're just going to try to get out of harm's way here. So we'll move here. That card can't get there. This card can't get there. That makes me feel pretty safe. My other option would be to go defensive, but that wouldn't be very smart either. However, I think I will do this just to demonstrate one last component of the game before we wrap the video up. So we're going to pass turn to the opponent. They'll draw a card for turn. They'll get these back. They'll get 6 power cubes. So now we're pretty deep into the game. I'm going to introduce a few unique concepts at this point. Don't forget to increment this to 2. A few unique concepts for the game. You can activate or spend 6 energy at any time during the game to draw a card. That's just a baseline effect of the game. You can draw by using 6 energy. So this guy's feeling pretty confident. It's me. I'm feeling confident. I'm going to spend all 6 to draw an additional card. I created 6 energy. I then use it. Boom. Get me a card. Okay. Put me a turn up, right? Now, this card will attack the horizontal one. Because it's in defensive position, basically, it gains shielding, which means that the damage done by this card will put this one, it will still cause this one to be destroyed. This one will not attack that one because it was horizontal, and because it had shield, the overflow of damage will not cause any life point damage to that person. Further, this card has an effect that would allow me to gain 2 life, draw a card, or add a power counter to an in-reach card. In-reach card would be something that this card could reach with an arrow. None of my cards have that, so I'll just draw 1 for turn. There's my second card drawn. Then, now that this player's board is clear, I can swing directly at that player and hit them directly for 4 damage. player damage. Now, there are situations where maybe this card attacked and this card's still out here. As long as this card was targeted in battle, this player can still attack directly. So think of it this way. You don't have to clear your opponent's cards off the board to still hit them directly. You just have to engage all their defenses. And then once all their defenses are exhausted, then you can attack them directly. So there's a bit of direct attacking there. Okay, so that's a quick overview of how to play the game, along with the basic rules of the game. So I hope this gets you what you need to be able to play the game and enjoy it in your print and play matches, and if you have prototypes, to enjoy that as well. And hey, if you're watching this after Kickstarter launches and we're successfully funded, you can enjoy your copy of the game as well. Until next time, until the next video where I redo all of this, enjoy yourself. Have a great day. This is Kevin.